Bhaje Radha Krishna Pade
Nitaye Karuna Pade Bhaje Radha Krishna Pade
Daronitaye Charana Dukkani
Daronitaye Charana Dukkani
Nitaye Charana Satya Tahara Sevaka Nitya
Nitaye Charana Satya Tahara Sevaka Nitya
Nitai Pada Sada Koro Asha
Nitai Pada Sada Koro Asha
Narottama Bodo Duki Nitai More Koro Suki
Narottama Bodo Duki Nitai More Koro Suki
Nakaranga Charane Rapasha
Nakuranga Charanera Pasha
Doyanitai, 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 Doyanitai.
Hey Doyanitai, 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 Doyanitai.
You could sing that now, Vedanta. No, I'm just saying in theory. I'm not saying you have to do a performance now, but I think you got it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
Tomorrow morning, you can sing. Do you have a question for Maharaj, or do you want to hear something? Dhanvat Maharaj.
Dhanvat Maharaj.
We have Gadadhar Guru with us this morning.
It's alright. I took wrong place. It's a privilege to be in his presence today.
It truly is. You know, Gurudev said he is my senior most disciple when he gave the initiation. Yeah, he said that.
It wasn't mine.
So you don't have any questions?
Okay. Do you have any question for Maharaj? Okay, so we'll just read and you can comment, Maharaj. Shri Prabhupada Jivanamritam ki jai. Positive and progressive immortality ki jai.
Okay.
We have a question.
It's about karma. I'm a little confused about it, a little bit, because if, say, a serial killer kills a man, the man's karma was to die, right? But then, would that serial killer be punished because he has some mental illness? Would he be punished at the same way a normal man would be punished if he killed a man?
Well, the mental illness is, it's a result of his previous activities, and he's placed into a situation where, as far as I can understand, he still has some degree of choice. If that degree of choice is covered, then I'm not read anything about this, but I think he would be less so liable, like you maybe are implying. It all depends on free will, and ultimately we all do have free will to choose one way or other. Within the modes of nature, people are controlled, but they still can choose goodness or passion or ignorance. So part of that mental illness is it's already been done as a choice, or it's a reaction to activities in the past that came upon them as a result of their own, bad activities. So their situation is has been happened according to their activities and their nature. So even though everyone is driven, there's still the possibility of choice. It all comes back to free will, and the circumstances people are in, they're set up like if someone is, like you could say, if someone is really sick and can't move or can't do much, does he have obligation to seek after truth? And that the answer is necessarily he must. He must have to. Like that one, who's that guy who comes here? Who's very, he can hardly move. He can't move out of his chair. Martin, does he still come?
No, he's in a nursing home.
He's bad, huh? He's gone bad?
No, he's better. But he's in a nursing home now.
Okay. What does that mean in a nursing home?
He's waiting for accommodation.
Oh, I see. Okay. Anyway, I think it's a difficult question, but you have to see that ultimately the bottom line is a person's free will, and however their circumstances, that's been arranged already by their own free will. So, ultimately everyone's responsible for their own position and their own actions within that position. So I would understand that they would be liable to karma. What do you think, Maharaj?
About killing a man?
About someone who's mentally disturbed, who kills someone who's destined to be killed anyway because of his karma.
Yeah, so first we have to discriminate between human laws and universal law, which is applied by the Lord of Destiny or Yamaraj. So the human law maybe sometimes maybe wrong if it's not based on universal law. So according to human law, he may be put in a mental facility. Second thing is the mental disorder is the punishment by itself. It's already punishment. So he does not need to be extra punished because he is already in terrible position.
Is it like he's in an animal state, Maharaj?
Yeah, and as for universal law, whether he is liable to be punished, it depends on the portion of consciousness at the particular time when he committed his activity, his crime. So if he was in conscious state, then he is going to be punished fully. If he was half conscious or unconscious, if he was unconscious, he was like totally the instrument of destiny, so he is not liable to be punished. If he did not invest his consciousness in what was he doing, then he is not liable at all. And as for the victim, Yes, that person, the victim, was predetermined to be killed or executed or suffered. He was suffering for some previous activity. So the enlightened man, enlightened person, understands that whatever happened to the victim was his destiny. And if the suffering person or victim understands that at certain point understands that the killer or the aggressor is not acting by himself, but he is the instrument of the destiny. Acting to him, then at this particular point he becomes liberated. If we understand that it's not the people or other circumstances are guilty in my punishment, in my suffering, then we become liberated. This is the point of liberation of the spirit. So when we are harassed by the destiny, it's good chance to liberate ourselves. So my answer is, according to his, as you said, free will, or I say consciousness, he put in his activity, he is liable to be punished or not.
So the crux of the question is
free will, yeah, I would say, Maharaj.
Yeah, and
like a tiger, if he kills a lamb, he does not.
Right.
He doesn't go to path of punishment because he has to act like this. But a man, if he kills someone, he had free choice.
There must necessarily be some in someone with a human form. You know, I'm saying the crux of the question is in the human form, he must necessarily have some degree of consciousness. It may be 95 to 5 or something, but still there's some degree of consciousness that must be there in the human form as opposed to the animal form. That's what I would pose as an antithesis. Mm-hmm. You know, so he must be liable to some degree. What you're saying is he may only be liable 1%, mm-hmm. but he will be liable to some degree. So something is there in terms of consciousness of the human being. I don't think, I wonder, I'm thinking of where in the scriptures it says that, I mean, our gurus have said sometimes, oh, they're acting like animals. They're animals. And does that mean that they've lost their human consciousness totally? Or does it mean that they're, below 50% or something? I don't know. What's your thought on that, Maharaj?
And when they say these people or persons act like animals, they take a particular feature of a particular animal and imply it into humans. Mm. So when they say you act like animal, that means in some cases you like an camel eating that thorns and enjoy the salty taste of your blood. So this is animalistic activity. Or you are like a donkey following opposite sex and being kicked by it. And so this is, it looks like an donkey activity. So when they say these people act like animals, it's not like, it does not mean that they turned into animals, but some of their features, some of their aspects look like animalistic, not all, but they are not. Animals in full sense of this word, because what differs us from animals, the question why. This is the question of all questions. Why? No animal, while acting, while doing something, no animal asks why is this, why am I doing, why this person is doing that, what is the reason of that object, of that phenomena. No animal asks question why, and people always ask why. They may be wrong in their answers, but that question why is always present in human mind. Of course, the majority of people ask this question on wrong phenomena, like why the wind blows. It's not correct question.
Why the grass is green.
Why grass is green? I mean, it's not relevant. So the majority of people, they're inquisitive. They're into unimportant questions. Why? Because the answer to these why questions will not lead them to the truth. So Krishna says, one of the million ask correct question. Why
am I suffering?
Why am I suffering? Or why I'm doing this? Why I am in this position? And out of million of those, only one comes to right question, right answer. So there's very few people who apply that question why to right subject. So
does that answer your question?
Yeah. No.
So there's a certain percentage of consciousness that's there, and based on that percentage of consciousness, they'll get a reaction. If it's 65-35 like that, or 95-5, or 50-50, or who knows. But everybody's got some degree of consciousness.
I would say, if a human person, never asks question why, he is not liable to any punishment from above. He is already being punished for his previous lives.
Well,
it's already not being able to ask question why is the punishment.
But it must be, Maharaj, I would counter that there must be some percentage, some small amount of consciousness that must be there that differentiates that person from just an animal totally controlled by nature.
Yeah, I'm saying if.
Okay.
In reality, I don't think. There are some completely dull people, and even by accident, they kill the nurse without being conscious.
It depends on the degree of ego involved, right?
Yeah.
We're told in Bhagavad Gita, there's a particular stage of consciousness, one can kill the whole world and they won't be implicated in any reaction. Right? So it depends how much personal ego individual ego is involved in the action.
And also the example is given, it's like a, you're going to be running around,
No,
Dee
I'm
Dee.
going to be...
It's like it's like a snowball rolling down the hill. You know, it picks up one amount of snow, and as a result of picking up that amount of snow, it rolls further and picks up more snow, and as a result of that, it rolls down further. And, it just, continues like that. In a similar way, our devotional life develops, in a similar way, and we reach our destination cumulatively. But the entanglement in the material world is like that. You get propelled in the wrong direction, and in that way your choices become less and less able to turn the thing around and go back. Is that correct, Maharaj?
No objection. Grand jury.
Got anything to add?
No, thank you.
No objection, Yamuna.
Okay, so let's read one sloka from Papanajjivanamritam Ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Rakha Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Okay. Okay, so we just read Bhaktivinoda Thakur praying, let me just be born as an insect, but in the house of a devotee. I don't want to be Brahma. Even I'll not take the post of the highest position in the universe. I'll rather take the lowest post to be with the devotees. Okay, so 24. So Guru Maharaj's summary, he's actually written 2, 4, 6, looks like 8 Sanskrit words. This is the translation. The pure devotee who knows the paramount, immaculate nectar of devotion for Sri Chaitanya Dev distrusts all else, even to the point of considering the culture of other spiritual relationships to be opposition. So someone who's dedicated, lost in devotion to Mahaprabhu, has no other feeling for any other kind of devotion. This is what Guru Maharaj is saying in this sloka. Gora Bhakti Rasa Gyasa Anyata Chid Rase Pi Pratikulyanu Bhutihi. Pratikulya, one is a verse to these other chid rase, other types of spiritual rase relations. Gaur Bhakti Rasa Gyasa, the immaculate nectar of devotion for Sri Chaitanya Dev. Devotees are not interested, even in other rasas. This is what Guru Maharaj states as a summary for this next sloka by Sri Prabodhananda Saraswati. Let me remain within a cage of blazing fire, but never in the association of persons averse to the holy lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If I never get even the slightest taste of the nectar of a tiny particle of the pollen of the lotus feet of Sri Gauranga, my heart has no aspiration for a position in the great spiritual planets headed by Vaikuntha, even if it is mine for the taking. Sri Prabodhananda Saraswati. Let me remain within a cage of blazing fire. Wow, okay. So let's read the sloka. Vasome varam astu gora duhana palavait panjane Sri Chaitanya padara vinda vimukharma kutrachit sangamaha vaikuntadi padam swayam chamilitam na me manolipsate padam bhoja rajas chata yadi manag gorayasya no rasyate. So even a small taste of a tiny particle of the lotus feet of Mahaprabhu gives me the feeling of no aspiration for no position in the spiritual world, only wanting the association of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this is like here Srila Guru Maharaj is bringing us to a transition from discussing about the pastimes of Krishna and the loving relations of Krishna. Now he's bringing us to what our position is. That Lord Chaitanya has descended. He is Krishna himself. He's come to give us relationship with him through the chanting of the holy name. And so that's our object. It's not, cowherd boys or, we're gopis or this or that. We're not in that position. We serve Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is from, Guru Maharaj directly. We serve Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and in that service, if Krishna so wishes, will appear in the transcendental world in relation with Krishna in a different form. And if Mahaprabhu wants, will eternally be with his Sankirtan party. I think that's something of what Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur is saying, that let me just remain at the lotus feet of Mahaprabhu. That's the ideal position of the Vaishnava, is to understand Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is that Krishna. And he's here, he's come to this plane to give the holy name, and we have a chance to serve and surrender to him. And there's no necessity, and not only that, there's no practical spiritual arrangement so that we should go to that position. Some people are thinking, oh, we're going to develop rasa, so we have to start reading high books and understand what it is to have that rasa, even though they have no degree of purification, no degree, or a very small degree, like us, of attachment to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But here Prabodhananda Saraswati is making it clear. Be attached to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's my object. I don't want anything else.
Maharaj, they use the verse, I forgot which verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, where Sutta Goswami says, in order to develop your love to Krishna, you have to listen about his place with Gopi from the mouth of pure devotee. So they use this verse as a pretext to read this this section of Bhakti science. So what's your comment?
Well, the question is then, which pure devotee is saying that?
This one.
Who?
This one.
No, we don't acknowledge that. We see by the vision of our gurus. We're told who is the pure devotee.
They have their gurus, and they say, I am pure devotee, I am Rasika, I can tell you about rasas, so you can be impregnated with rasa knowledge from me.
Srila Govinda Maharaj answered that they have not sufficient sukriti, so they're allowing their material instincts to direct them to the guidance of someone who's actually not having the proper vision, and is taking advantage of their material desire to transpose their conditioned position onto the spiritual realm. Like Goswami Maharaj said, they're voyeurs. They're looking from the outside in, like in a perverted way.
But who determines whether they are eligible to hear, or whether they reach that standard or not?
Those who we know as genuine gurus. We know Srila Prabhupada is genuine. I do. Then Srila Prabhupada tells us, go to Srila Sridhar Maharaj. We know Srila Sridhar Maharaj is genuine. Therefore, and by experience, we know that.
So for you, they are not eligible. These people, they are not.
Because that's what Srila.
But for them, because they take their stand, you stand. And they say, okay, this person, he was given that position from that person, and that person was disciple of that person, so he is also bona fide.
They're guru shopping because the only access that we have to Krishna consciousness is not by going into the marketplace and looking around and testing things mentally or intellectually. So but we have to receive the spiritual transference, and that transference in the West has come from Srila Prabhupada, and from Srila Prabhupada to Srila Sridhar Maharaj, from Srila Sridhar Maharaj to Srila Govinda Maharaj, and the direction is clear. It's already outlined to us very clearly, and anything outside of that, for us, and as far as we can understand, for anyone who's approaching spiritual, the aspiration of spiritual realization, their direction. Wait a minute, Maharaj. Yeah. Their direction for understanding our position as absolute servants is of primary necessity, and looking at those who are approaching these other lines of gurus, we find that they're approaching in a way described here or implied here by Prabodhananda Saraswati. They want some other experience. They want to have that for their own self. So just based on that appearance of calculation, which they're not aware of, we can see that they're deviating. We can see by their dress, by their actions, everything. They haven't reached the position of anartha nivritti. What to speak of bhajana kriya. Fully. It's just not there, Maharaj. Based on the direction of our gurus and what little we're able to perceive, we can see that their approach is polluted.
Yeah,
right?
Not right. I don't agree with you there. First of all, they say we also got our line from Swami Maharaj.
Mm-hmm. Well, where's the record of Srila Prabhupada?
They will give you quotations. They will give you tapes. They will give you letters and writings, and you will never be able to prove or disprove it. Okay, so they say also same thing. So what is the criteria?
Okay,
beside your subjective or your
it's not subjective, Maharaj.
Okay,
we can understand from their own statements that there's calculation involved. Oh, I had so much bliss in the time of Prabhupada. Now I'm missing the bliss, so I'm going to get that bliss back by, this is what's necessary. We have to go to the higher experience to have the bliss again for ourselves. Mm-hmm. They're thinking like that. So it's clear. It's clear calculation. I've not seen one who says, I want to be, simply a servant. The whole thing is based on the drive towards acquiring a position.
They say many things, including, I want to be a servant. To say something is not big deal, big job.
Well,
they know scriptures. They know better than we do. They know it by heart, so they may juggle the words of the scripture.
Yes. So ultimately, we have to stay close to the instructions of our gurus in our heart, as we understand from them. Like Srila Govinda Maharaj has made many heavy statements about, that Voldemort. Do you understand Voldemort?
So from the movie?
From Harry Potter, yeah. He's the...
I never.
Anyway,
watched,
I read Harry Potter. I just got drawn into it and read the whole series. But anyway, he's Voldemort, and that's been pointed out clearly by Srila Govinda Maharaj.
Okay.
This person is deviating, giving Sahaja notions, which may or may not be clearly manifest.
Maharaj, it's all right. It's all right, but the scriptures say clearly, to reach that highest level, you have to listen Bhagavata section, this Krishna Lila section, from the mouth of pure devotee.
Right.
And you cannot deny that shloka.
Right. It all.
And then point out at that person, say, okay, this person is pure, so we're going to listen.
But Rupa Goswami tells us the context in which we must approach that hearing.
Okay. Yeah.
And in order, first we have to develop, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. Then we have to engage in serious surrender manifests through our glorification of Krishna in this bhajana kriya. Then we have to tackle the attachments in the material world, leave them behind. Then we have to come to a clear stage, nishta. Then we have to come to a stage where we begin to develop, something of feeling, actual, real, substantial feeling for that rasa, and then we begin to experience some ruchi. And at one of those stages, after anartha nivritti, if a pure Vaishnava, who is, clearly pointed out to us, wants to reveal that to us, we accept that as part of our service, not as something that is, we're taking in for some ulterior purpose. Like it's called, when you read the 10th canto, or when you read the Ramananda Samvad, the direction is you read it. What is it, Parayana?
Yeah.
You read it in sequence. You don't go there separately. You read it in sequence, and not only that, but if you're gonna actually experience the real purpose of that hearing, you have to be qualified. Otherwise, it's it's voyeurism. It's looking at something from the outside that we have no real experience of, thinking we're enjoying.
Okay.
Do you have anything else to say, Didi?
I'm thinking of that verse, and there's two important qualifiers in that verse. Shraddhanvito, very firm faith. You can catch up. And Anushunnaya, the hearing, and with the mood of submission, right? So that presupposes approaching the proper agent, the spiritual guide. And Gurudev, when he answered this question, he said, that guide, that guru, he will first prepare you to hear those pastimes. There's some preliminary stages before that. So, I mean, Maharaj already said that, there's different stages, and under the guidance of the Guru, the higher Vaishnava, then they will bring you through those stages and bring you to that stage when you're ready to hear those things. But if you hear them before, but too early, you'll be spoiled, right?
What does Srila Guru Maharaj say that you must see Bhurbuva, all these levels of experience within the material world. You must see them. You must see Viraja. You must see Brahmajyoti. You must see Vaikuntha. And after you see those things, then you go for service to that. If you're propelled there, you go for service to that place where it's actually necessary for your service to hear those high things.
Yes.
I mean, that's our understanding of receiving them. And in the interim, Srila Prabhupada gave the example. It's like when you're thinking about traveling, you get a brochure where you get pictures of what the beach is like, what the accommodation is like, and you think, oh, that sounds really nice, I'm going to go there. So Prabhupada gave us Krishna book in that context, so that we can look at something, feel like it's going to be nice, and want to go through the difficulties of surrender to gain that objective. So Kaviraj Goswami has given us just enough, according to direct realization from Nityananda Prabhu. He's given us enough so that we can get that sense of where we're going, to be impelled to engage properly in the necessary austerity, to move in the right direction. So it's like that, Maharaj. We do hear, it does impel us, but it's not as though we're hearing for the purpose of directly entering into some higher pastime. I think that's a good answer, how Prabhupada presented it as a travel brochure. That's how we see it. First, from the lips of a pure Vaishnava, he gives us some indication of the reality of these things. And in fact, when the Krishna book first came out, it blew some devotees out of the water completely. There was maybe 5%, maybe 10% who couldn't digest Krishna's pastimes. They thought it was too crazy. It's like too mythological. It's not possible that these things happen. But Srila Prabhupada said they do, and we accepted that they do, and that enhanced our service. Whereas for some, it was just too much, and they went away because of their inability to accept the nature of the higher pastimes of Krishna. So, Maharaj, there's, like you're saying, there's unlimited back and forths that can go on. And we're not really interested in that, so we don't really engage much in that. If someone attacks our guru or challenges our guru, we'll answer them. But as far as, like they're doing, actively going into, trying to infiltrate different places, to the point where we just have been instructed, just kick them out. They're actively going in to try to, impose their realization based on some notion that they've got this high thing that everybody inevitably is going to go to. So, why don't you just go to it now? That's what they're given by that Voldemort. That I'm giving you a high thing and they're not ready for it. So they think, oh, we're going to give them the high thing, the beautiful thing, so we should just give it to them. Everything is beautiful. But that's not the vision of Srila Govinda Maharaj. It's not beautiful to think that in contaminated state you can enter into, enter into high pastimes. That puts you on the slippery slope of Sahajiyaism. However much it's visible now, we know that's the case, and it will descend. Anyway, are you satisfied, Maharaj?
No, it doesn't matter.
There's a Shtita Dhir Muni. He can argue both sides. Scripture is everything. So it's not the argument, it's the inner experience. And based on our inner experience with Srila Govinda Maharaj, we know what the situation is. And like you're saying, based on what they think is their inner experience, they know that what Voldemort is giving is correct. And like Didi said, it just depends on ultimately faith and accumulated potential for faith in the form of Sukriti. That's what he said. They just didn't have Sukriti, so they fell back on seeking after spiritual objectives in an acquisitional mood. And that's exactly what Prabodhananda Saraswati is talking about here. Let me not even desire anything in the spiritual world except the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is, clearly given by Srila Sridhar Maharaj also. First we serve Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, become lost in that service, and then, if Krishna so wants, we suddenly are there. It's not as though we actively get trained to become a cowherd boy, or, if we're sent there, then we get trained. It's not as though in this world we start doing stuff like that. That's, according to our gurus, that's illusion. And I know some of my godbrothers have written big papers, like you said, citing so many quotes and this and that, but out of context. And not with knowledge of direct instructions coming from Srila Prabhupada. What to speak of the direct instructions from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur? That's another central point. That Srila Prabhupada, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he was the object of their lives. Everything was there in Saraswati Thakur. And Saraswati Thakur's position on that was that he himself would not access those books. So they think they can jump over Saraswati Thakur? Well, what does Srila Prabhupada and Srila Sridhar Maharaj think of that, Maharaj? It's, it's just not, it's not proper Vaishnava thinking. Anything else, Didi?
This subject we can all get very angry about.
Yeah.
What I never understand is how they find the time.
Yeah.
We're busy. I'm busy dealing with Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moha, Matsaya, service to Guru and Vaishnava.
Exactly, yeah.
I'm really busy with that. So how do you find the time, or the relevance? How is it relevant to your life?
To your service,
right now?
yeah.
It's just so. I've never understood it. I've never understood it. How they can be attracted or find it.
Well, when you organize your life, you will find a few minutes of rasa relishing. Besides service to your guru, few minutes you can spare.
That will enhance your service, right? Yeah.
It's not a big deal, just few minutes to relish the second part of Ramananda Samvada.
Yeah, jump over
every day.
Jump over Saraswati Thakur. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Sridhar Maharaj will love
Actually,
that.
Maharaj, I'm not satisfied with the answer, because...
Oh, go on, Maharaj.
How will you answer?
Yeah.
No, Didi, I don't know. I just talk from their position, because they would say, all you said is correct, and I'm just doing what you said. I serve my guru, Vaishnavas. I follow Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's steps. That before leaving this world, he gave us direction to Svarupa Damodar and Rupa Raghunath Goswami. So we read their writings under the guidance of Vaishnava, who was given this post by disciple of Saraswati Thakur, or he was indicated as a highest Vaishnava by Swami Maharaj Prabhupada. So
who is this? Srila Maharaj?
No, I forgot the name.
Oh, Voldemort.
So what I say that all you present, all that you present now, they use and they say, yes, that's about us. That's exactly what we are doing.
And they're in Kirtan experiencing Bhav.
Maharaj, believe me, not all of them say that.
Well,
because they know that we mock their Bhav experience, so they stopped doing this.
Well, yeah.
You know.
Well, whether they say it or not, they're thinking that, Maharaj. That's been exposed.
Since Bhaktivinoda Thakur time, they changed. I mean, they constantly change their approach and their appearance. Like Bhaktivinoda Thakur pointed out 13 groups of Prakrita Vaishnavas.
Yeah.
And Saraswati Thakur 100. So nowadays, some of their branches died, but some of them developed into real.
They're very alive in Vrindavan.
Resemble, yes, they follow. So, what would you answer them if they say, yes, we're following our guru, we're following Saraswati Thakur, we are following all scriptures that were given to us.
Then Saraswati Thakur would not read Lalita Madhava. Why are you reading Lalita Madhava?
Maharaj, some of them don't.
No, that's given. That's openly given that they can access that. That's part of the growth, is to relish those pastimes, so that you become cleansed of material attachments.
To read about Krishna's rasa.
Yeah, that's the presentation.
But I met.
We have to do that now because we're going to enter into the spiritual world soon, and all we have to do is just read that, and we'll clear all of our coverings.
Is this part of their practice, or they may vary?
I don't think so, Maharaj. I believe it's part of the regular practice.
I met few persons that they said, no, we don't read this, we don't. They mimicrate, you know. This word now.
Minimize.
No, mimicrate means they try to follow the line of
mimic.
They mimic it. Like chameleons. Once they feel that their position is shaken by the present devotees, they try to copy it. It's like when you have a national currency, like pounds. So some people start to forge it, right? So when this forgery money grow in number, then the government decides, okay, we will print a new outlook.
New note,
and we change it. So within this period of time, you bring all your old notes and we will change it for new. So when you bring a fake one, so then we catch you. So lawful citizen, they bring real money and they get benefit with a new one. But the forgers, the fake makers, after some time they start copy the new banknotes. So the government after some time print again, they renovate the old banknotes.
Yes.
So these Sahaji people, they also follow that. Because before you could see these, you could detect Sahaja by their outlook. They looked like, they dressed themselves as gopis, they shaved, so they danced. So when they heard that Vaishnavas laugh at them and mock them, so they changed. Now they don't dress. They look like Vaishnava.
Right. But Maharaj, we have the supreme treasury agent who can identify the false notes.
But they say we also have the supreme treasury minister who can identify.
Yeah, well that's your misfortune, what can we say?
And they say also, it's your misfortune.
So, go on with your program.
This is what I'm saying. There is no objective or outside feature that you can say, oh, these people are fake makers. Or how do you call this in English, when people forge money?
Oh,
Counterfeiters.
Counterfeiters.
Counterfeiters. So, only by some subtle features you can say when they suddenly speak about rasa, suddenly act, how to attract people by that erotic aspect of Krishna consciousness. Right.
I mean, I don't answer them generally, Maharaj. I'm just bringing this up so that our devotees can be aware of this, because there's at least one devotee who is reading so much and got himself entangled so that he thinks Voldemort is genuine, and he can't see that that's in direct opposition to our beloved Srila Gurudev.
This is what that means, that eventually it all comes to your personal self. You should detect. You should tell the difference for yourself. There is no objective or outside science that tell you about who is genuine or who is a fake one, who is the hoax. And everyone should determine for himself eventually. This is
determine for himself within the context of the guidance already established by our gurus. That is our protection. I mean, otherwise, Maharaj, people can be easily drawn by mental powers. Like, who's that guy? Satya Sai Baba, right? Who had mental powers, and he just grabbed on to thousands of people, and based on his magic, like he could make ash come out of his picture anywhere in the world or something. So people thought he was God, based on magic tricks and mental powers.
But this Sahaji section, they also reject Satya Sai Baba saying same thing.
No, I'm not. I'm just using that as an example of how mental power can.
To my understanding, the more this fake banknote is more dangerous when it resembles most the genuine banknote.
Yeah,
when it looks funny with some obvious faults, then it's not that much dangerous. But when it's printed in really good equipment, as a normal person, you won't see the difference. This is most difficult, I mean, most dangerous.
Half truth is worse than a falsehood.
And this is what they present. Because as for these bogus, funny people like Osho or you said this person, Baba, it's for Vaishnava, it's obvious. But there are some people who look like Vaishnava, speak the same quotes, act, think, not think, but their outlook is pretty much the same.
Yeah.
And this gives us the most dangerous...
It depends on how you define outlook, Maharaj.
Well, I take the position from a beginner, for neophyte. For me, that sadhu and that sadhu, they look the same.
Well,
for a new devotee, the songs of Mirabai look the same as the poetry of Rupa Goswami. So Mirabai, she sings about Krishna and her
direct relationship
and her suffer in when you separation with Krishna. So they read Mirabai poetry.
Right.
For neophytes, they very apt to fall into these things.
Maharaj, Guru Maharaj
Yeah.
tells us that sincerity cannot be defeated.
Again,
We've come by sincerity, and we continue by sincerity. And based on that sincerity, we understand who to follow. And you can say they'll say the same thing, Maharaj.
yes, Maharaj. They say the same, they also say about sincerity.
Right. But you can,
Yes, they do.
Maharaj, you can see that there is active, violation of principles that have been set down by our gurus. There is. For example, this personality, said directly, he's greater than Srila Prabhupada because he's presenting so much. And what does that mean? He's presenting a realization about our approach to the living in service, in the service world, that is beyond Saraswati Thakur.
Right.
Union is greater than separation. That has come directly, that we know, Maharaj, and that we know is
Just
counter
go
to
in
Saraswati
circles.
Thakur. No, but they don't deny that. They hold to that.
The present day people, these people, they say, no, we are not greater than Srila Prabhupada. They always mimic devotees. So, and they read in Bhagavatam, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Mangala, they read that a genuine aspirant, after reading this section of Krishna conscious books, they cry and they tremble and they roll over the floor, and they start reading Mirabai's poetry, and they also tremble, they also cry, and they tell themselves, oh, now I reach a certain point because I also cry. And they see Mirabai, she was always crying, and she was so much determined in her austerity, in her brats. She locked herself up in the tower, and for tens of years she was crying for Krishna. And this is the sign of her pure devotion.
No,
She
Maharaj,
didn't marry. She rejected all her boyfriends and parents, and she was only thinking about Krishna.
But I think we recognize that Mirabai is a devotee of a type, right? Just without accepting the Ashaya Vigraha, what she's getting is like this, you know?
But we don't accept her at all. We say she had no devotion, even a particle of devotion. And
I've never heard a quote. I've never heard a quote about anything with Mirabai.
I've heard Gurudev say like that. I think it's in Revealed Truth.
I heard from Sripad Maharaj in his tape.
Well, by the Rupa Nuga standards.
No, he said, she did not accept Sanatana and Rupa Goswami. And for us, this is the sign that she had no devotion at all. Because if you don't accept other devotees and you develop your attachment to Krishna directly, then this is the sign that you are not a devotee. It's a small sign for us also. If someone speaks about Krishna and he does not follow devotees, but now they also copy this.
Well, Maharaj, I mean, ultimately, like you say, it does depend on the heart, but the heart is always, guided by Chaitya Guru. And we get understanding and nourish our sincerity by by our surrender to our Chaitya Guru and our listening to our Chaitya Guru, so that we can develop sumedasa, fine intelligence where we can differentiate between the two regardless of what they have to say, Maharaj. I mean, if they change one thing, there's going to be another problem, because that's the nature of deviation. It's the nature of Maya. Maya Sukhaya, Prabhupada used to tell us. They make one adjustment to correct something on the material plane, and based on that adjustment, then something else equal happens in a different way. Like in medicine, in different ways that was presented. Before it was, different diseases in earlier days. Now it's cancer, and so they've stopped. Smallpox and yellow fever or something, but it's increased in another area. So in a similar way, if there's a consciousness behind it that's based on a perception that is that inherently overrides the position of our gurus, then even if they adjust one thing, they're going to be off in another area, exactly, which will be seen and exposed.
Yes.
And then they'll just keep adjusting. So,
adjusting. Yes.
They're just lost.
So I would think that every person should determine for himself whether he is in right path or not. And Shukadeva Goswami, in the beginning of Bhagavatam, he told Parikshit Maharaj that I'm going to tell you something special, and you are able to understand it only if you get rid of fear. Because if you ask me the question, what's the purpose of your existence? I will tell you, but you have to give up all your fears. If you don't, you won't be understand what I'm talking about. And before entering into that 10th canto section, he asked Parikshit Maharaj, are you afraid of anything? And Parikshit Maharaj, no, now I know it's just very few moments left for me to be in this world. And then Shukadeva Goswami Maharaj said, yeah, okay, then we can proceed. So each and every person, before opening his ears or his heart to that intimate sections of bhakti, should ask himself, do I have any fears? Or something like that. Or like, Shukadeva Goswami, he had no attachment to this world. So if I'm attached to anything, fame, position, anything in this world, then I am not entitled to hear this. But this should be answered by every individual for himself. There is no objective science. You understand?
Yes.
Fear means apprehension of
anything.
loss.
Yeah, of loss, exactly. Fear means apprehension to lose something. Position, money, liberty, freedom, present state or physical state, body, anything. The sharpness of your senses, which is very dear to us. So, if the answer is, well, I still have some fears to lose something in this world, then I'm not going to read it.
Right. Like Rupa Goswami
Because I
said,
will be my perception is spoiled by my fears. Oh, I'm sorry, Maharaj.
I just said, no, what you're saying is anartha nivriti. There's freedom from all attachments. Therefore, ultimately fear. Yeah.
Yeah. Because attachments, it's very subtle, but fear is something tangible. You can always say, well, I'm afraid to lose this. I'm afraid of being a loser. But attachment, no, I don't. I'm not attached to this mridanga. I'm not attached to this. It's very easy to cheat yourself with this conception of attachment. But fear is something that you can catch. You can detect. So.
No, it's getting very late.
So, yeah, we're talking a lot.
Oh, we didn't complete today's Chaitanya Charitamrita.
That's like the third day in a row. We got one verse of Prabhupada Jivanama, but it's nice. We're having good discussion.
Yeah, important.
But everything was generated by our honored, revered Prabhu. Because you started, you asked that question.
Very good.
I got so lost.
You want to chant Hari Haraya? No? Didi?
He started today's talk.
Jai, Shri Prabhupada Jivanamritam ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Shri Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Shri A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Shri Bhakti Nirmalacharya Maharaj ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Acharya Brinda ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Vaishnava Brinda ki jai. Jai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol.
Hariharaya Namah Krishna Yadavaya Namah.
Hariharaya Namah Krishna Yadavaya Namah.
Hariharaya Namah Krishna Yadavaya
Hariharaya Namah Krishna Yadavaya
Namah.
Namah.
Yadavaya Madhavaya Kesavaya Namah.
Yadavaya Madhavaya Kesavaya Namaha.
Gopala Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudana.
Gopala Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudana.
Giridhari Gopinata Madana Mohana.
Giridhari Gopinata Madana Mohana.
Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra.
Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra.
Radhara Shiva Savi Gura Bhakta Vrinda.
Radhara Shiva Savi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatha.
Jai Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatha.
Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunatha.
Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunatha.
Jai Gosai Kori Charana Bandha.